The Rams' initial 53-man roster is set in stone. Who are some price cuts? Who are guys that we're really excited that made this roster? Well, we'll talk about all that next on this new episode here on the Rams Up Podcast Network. What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Rams Up Podcast Network. I'm Ian. That's Mark. If you're on YouTube, like this video, subscribe to our channel, turn on that notification bell. If you are on the audio only or podcast only side of things, share this podcast and audio with all your friends. Any of those options helps other Rams fans to see our content, and we very much appreciate it. But Mark, welcome back from a good vacation right in time before the season starts, man. How you been?
Yeah, really good, and I'm not gonna do that again. I've already planned our next one. We're not vacationing in late August or September, and we're not vacationing during the NFL draft. I got that squared away, but yeah, glad to be back and ready for this season to kick off here.
It's all good. I mean, hey, at least it wasn't in September and beyond. That would have been a tough one, a tough pill to
Yeah.
swallow, and I would have been lonely here. But you made it back. And Rams Nation, I mean, the initial 53-man roster is set. And we say initial because, let's be real. And this has been the case since the beginning of time in football. Guys make it immediately or initially, and things happen. Injuries, maybe guys, don't perform as well as practice and they get booted. I mean, we've seen this with this Rams team under this McVay Snead era. And even before then, this is how it is as of today. But in a week and a half against Houston, I mean, it could be completely different. And that's been the case in years past. So congrats to everyone who made it thus far. Pretty cool. I mean, it's a tough cutthroat business. And well, let's talk about that cutthroatness right now as the Rams trade offensive lineman KT Leveston. And they sent him to Cleveland after they finished their preseason week 3 game or the finale of the 2025 preseason. And Cleveland's like, you know what? We need that guy. We'll send you a pick. And obviously he was not going to make the team for the Rams. So they said, all right, we'll take a 7th in 2028. I mean, that's pretty crazy. We hope, draft picks are a lot sooner than, 3 years down the road, Mark. But hey, they got something for a guy who was not going to make the roster, and we'll take it, right? Shoot.
Yeah, and it's a shame we never really got to see him play. I think he was banged up a lot last year, but obviously Cleveland sees something. They probably obviously had a really good chance to see him up close last weekend. And this guy I never really figured out, a guard or tackle. Apparently he's a tackle now. But yeah,
Yeah.
good luck to him in Cleveland. He's going to get a chance to make it on a 53. So good for him.
Yeah. Good for him for sure. And yeah, I mean, that pay difference from 53 to practice squad is significant for a lot of guys. And, anyone who's been drafted at all, you hope to make any team. And good on him because he was not going to make ours, clearly. But let's talk about those Rams roster cuts, everyone. As there was an initial wave where, Dresser Wynn was a part of that. SoCal native Brendan Jackson, the outside linebacker, was a part of that initial wave. But with the final cuts being mandatory as of today, we got the rest of these roster cuts. And there were some big surprises that had the Rams universe, the fan base, up in arms and puzzled. So let's pull up who was let go, and we'll rally through these pretty quick. But I think the notable players, Mark, Rams Nation, you see Tanner Ingle, the strong safety who was laying people out left and right the whole preseason. You see former starting corner Darion Kendrick. See you later. You have Cam Lampkin, who had some good moments at corner as well. Then we go down and you see Ronnie Rivers, Cody Schrader, right? Ronnie started a lot of games at running back for not a lot of games, but he's had productive moments in games for us. And then, Cody Schrader, we like seeing him run the football. And you see Charles Woods, another corner, who you said, all right, I think he can play some good football too. Brendan Jackson, we talked about. And then wave with an injured settlement is Willie Lampkin, the 5'10 lineman that was pancaking everybody in that week 1 preseason game against the Cowboys, and then unfortunately got hurt. And then the most notable of all, inside linebacker Chris Pooh Paul Jr. I mean, out of all of them, Mark, that one was like, dang it. Really? I mean,
Yeah.
your thoughts on that, man?
Well, I started to hear rumors about that late yesterday, and I thought it was kind of crazy that you give up on a fifth round pick so early. But me and you were talking before we started recording. There's probably multiple reasons for that, right? And it's disappointing, but the Rams draft well. They also admit to their mistakes and are ready to move on. They have 53 guys that they're comfortable with, and Paul wasn't worthy of taking up one of those spots, obviously. And yeah, it's kind of a bummer because I think a lot of us, a month ago, were thinking we might have drafted our dynamic sideline to sideline linebacker that we desperately needed. Yeah, it didn't work out that way.
Yeah, and now let's be real about this situation, Rams, my fellow Ramley out there. The way the Rams conduct preseason, right? Important players don't play. Even backup rotational guys who will see the field in any capacity don't play. And guys that are on the bubble who are in the coaching staff's favor and have proved themselves don't play much in the finale of a preseason game or week 4 in years past, now week 3 in this new age of preseason that's been going on. So to see Darion Kendrick play a lot against the Browns, to see Chris Paul Jr. play a lot, and anyone else who got serious snaps in that game and weren't yanked and felt like they played the entire game, all 4 quarters. I mean, their chances of making the roster were slim. And that should have been a sign for all of us. And again, not that we were oblivious to it, but we just thought there's no way they're getting rid of him, even if he is playing this late. There's just not enough bodies, right? There's not enough inside linebackers. So, yeah, I mean, have Paul out there. He hasn't practiced a ton for, his calf injury, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But we all should have known because he was out there, that was not a good sign. Let's be real about it. And for any of those guys that were playing deep into that fourth quarter against the Browns in that preseason finale, it was not a good sign. And I think going forward with any player that we have a football crush on, right? We hope that makes this team. We have to realize if they're playing deep into finales of preseason games, not good. Not good. And I think that should have been the first sign that we just didn't accept and fully notice, Mark. I think that's fair to say.
Yeah, I got 2 things to add on to that. One of them, I'm gonna call it the, Lance McCutcheon syndrome. When we see guys making play after play after play in a preseason game, it's exciting, and we get excited about the player, but we also have to realize who they're playing against, why they're playing in the first place, and, Tanner Ingle, I think, falls into that category, and I saw him flying all over the field making plays. And I was hoping he would make the roster and hopefully he ends up on the practice squad. But and there's a couple other guys, Willie Lampkin, same thing, even though he ended up being hurt. Cody Schrader, he had a couple
Yeah.
big moments, but the other part of it is I try to get this across politely on the YouTube channel is it's a math problem, and you just can't keep everybody. And when you have Matthew Stafford with an achy back and Stetson Bennett playing well, that means you're carrying 3 quarterbacks. And when you
Yeah.
have a Larry Jackson struggling with blood clots, last year the Rams had 9 offensive linemen on their initial roster. This year they have 10, partly because of that. And that
Yeah.
that may have been the reason Brandon Jackson and Chris Paul, guys like that, and Tanner Ingle are not on this roster. It has a little obviously has a lot to do with their performance at practice and on the field, but it also has to do with the team needs, an extra offensive lineman and keeping a third quarterback.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, circling back to Chris Paul Jr., as obviously that's the one that stung the most, and a lot of the fan base is up in arms. It's like, how can you get rid of him and keep Troy Reader around? Man, this coaching staff loves Troy. But let's pull up what Sean McVay had to say, and I'll read it real quickly for everyone out there who hasn't heard or read what McVay said today in his post game, or excuse me, his post cut day press conference. He said, quote, "What we are tasked to do is be able to evaluate what we think when we went with 4 inside linebackers. What do we think are the 4 best inside linebackers? And that's not exclusive to playing inside linebacker. Part of that is playing special teams. And Sean Dolak's a guy that's going to be able to play on all 4 phases. Troy Reader is going to play on all 4 phases. And so when you look at Landman and Omar as your starting inside linebackers, when you're in your 2-backer defenses, those 3rd and 4th spots are heavily dictated and determined by where do you create your value, not exclusive to the inside linebacker position. And it's not anything to take away from Pooh, because I got respect, love for him, and wish him nothing but the best. But those 2 guys, Dolak and Reader, made themselves really important, and that's why they'll have a jersey on game day. So now, based on the film in preseason, I'm a film guy, everyone, and don't worry, film breakdowns will be rocking and rolling once week 1 kicks off. Looking at Chris Paul Jr.'s film, I enjoyed it. Wasn't perfect. Now, there are moments where I'm like, probably could have played that better, or I think his pass coverage should have been better there. Of course, and the same thing with Dolak. But to Sean McVay's point, they probably, just based on the assumption here, that he wasn't doing the best job on special teams, whether that was punt coverage, whether that was punt return, whether that was kickoff. Maybe he got some reps on field goal / PAT and wasn't getting, good blocks there. So what it came down to is that his special teams value wasn't any better than undrafted player Sean Dolak and the veteran and former Super Bowl champion Troy Reader. And that's it. Now, whether that's going to be right or wrong long term, who freaking knows? Is Pooh Paul going to be willing to stay on a practice squad with the Rams and hope, things go his way with us? Or, he's going to say, screw it, I'm going somewhere else because I want to make a team and contribute in some way, shape or fashion. But to Sean McVay's point, that special teams was too dang important and they didn't see enough out of them. Unfortunate.
Yeah, it is a bummer, and I guess I should know if he played special teams in college. Probably not as a senior, so maybe he's just rusty. Maybe he doesn't have experience in that aspect of the game. Maybe he doesn't take it seriously. Who knows? But there's going to
Yeah.
be more than one reason, right, for
Yeah.
this. And Sean will paint it a certain way for PR purposes and such.
Of
But
course. Yeah.
yeah, it's still a bummer. Anyway, you
It's a
look at
bummer.
it,
And
it's a
let's be
bummer.
real about it too, Mark, my fellow Ramley out there. He was in a tough spot when he was dealing with the calf injury. He wasn't practicing for what felt like a couple
Oh,
weeks,
that's
right?
right.
I
Yeah.
mean, that has a big factor into making this roster and just showcasing yourself. He wasn't out there. You know who was kicking ass? Undrafted man from Buffalo, Sean Dolak, was kicking ass and impressing coaches on all the different phases of football, apparently, and which is why he made the roster. So tough for Chris Paul Jr. We'll see if he's able to stick around on the practice squad. I assume he'll get claimed. Another team will want him. He had some good film out there in the SEC at Ole Miss. So sucks, but you got to create value. And then on
Yeah.
top of that, if you ain't even practicing as a rookie, I mean, that's tough. And again, everyone's up in arms. If he was a first, second, or third round pick, he would be around. They would store him somewhere. Let's be honest about it. 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th round picks. I think we've all been spoiled because, this McSnead era has drafted so well in those final rounds. But the reality is a lot of those guys aren't good enough or aren't good enough to make a lot of NFL rosters. And for him being a 5th round guy, unfortunately for him, he is expendable because the value of that selection isn't as mandatory and I guess deflating if he was a first, a second, a third round pick. And that's just the reality. No matter what, if they traded up for him or other players, like we know they did trade up to get him. Sean McVay said it best. Doesn't matter if you're undrafted. Doesn't matter if you were drafted. Doesn't matter what your salary is. We are going to do what's best for the football team, and guys are going to earn their spots. And that's what he said today as well. So at the end of the day, Chris Poopball Jr. didn't earn a spot, and a lot of other guys did not either. And that's the reality. As again, let's pull up the full list of everyone with these Rams roster cuts. Take a look there, everyone. If you're on YouTube with us, you can read the names. But I'll ask you this, Mark. Are there a handful of guys outside of Chris Paul Jr. that you want to see back on this practice squad?
Absolutely, and top of the list is, Brandon Presley for me, or one of the top guys, because he's a really exciting player. I know he's a little slight. He's got that Tutu Atwell size. I thought he had a chance of bumping Xavier Smith off this roster, but obviously was unaware of how McVay feels about X, because he talked at length about him today as well. But Presley, I think, has a lot of potential. I feel bad losing for Ronnie Rivers. He made that big play last year against the 49ers, and he's been a good
Yeah.
running back. And I thought that might just put him on IR. Cody Schrader, I'd like to see him back. Who else here? I suspect Brennan Jackson. If I'm interpreting it correctly, the fact that they released him a day early, I think that's an indication that he has already told them he has no interest on being on the Rams practice squad. I could be wrong on that. And I really like Jordan Waters, the running back, a bigger running back. I have him listed as a wide receiver there, and that's but he's a guy that I think him and Schrader, one or both of them, would not be surprised if Schrader got picked up by somebody though. And there's going to be a couple of offensive linemen, Dylan McMahon. You got to have a couple of those guys, and don't forget Elias Neal was on the Rams' initial 53-man roster last year, and I don't think he's stuck throughout the season.
Yeah.
But he's an NFL linebacker as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so remember, Rams Nation, for practice squad, you can have a maximum of 16 players in that practice squad group. If you have an international player, then you can get that extra 17 spots, but 16 is the max. So there's a lot of good players that were, waived and cut, unfortunately. But we all know a lot of these guys will not be around. They want to play and be on a roster, get that bump in salary and pay and suit up on game days, or just be a part of that active roster or 53-man roster in any capacity. But, I mean, I've had to rally off guys. Of course, let's get Tanner Engel back. Let's get Darion Kendrick back. Let's get Cam Lampkin. Let's get Elias Neal. Let's get Poopall. Let's get Brennan Presley, Ronnie Rivers, Cody Schrader. Let's get Charles Woods. Let's get Brennan back. Hey, between Drake Stoops and Jordan Waters, can't have enough receivers, how much we play. Willie Lampkin, if everything, holds up with his health. Those are just guys just immediately sticking out to me that hopefully will be brought back. And there'll be others from around the league, as, this practice squad, waiver wire madness is kind of like undrafted free agency for these college guys. Teams are just in a scurry to claim dudes. And that's how we found Darius Williams, who ended up being a Super Bowl champion starting corner, a really good corner for us, earlier in his prime of his career. As, the Baltimore Ravens got him. We claimed him. We're like, yeah, we want that dude. And he was a part of a number one defense, was a part of a Super Bowl winning defense, and has played a lot of good football in his life with Jacksonville and back with us for a second stint. So there are guys out there that will get claimed, whether it be our own, cuts or claiming guys from other teams' cuts. That are going to be fantastic football players. And let, the D. Will Darius Williams situation back in 2019 be a reminder of that, or 2018. Apologies if my years are off on him on that, but we shall see. And we'll find out within the next day or so who gets claimed, who's moving where, who doesn't get claimed, who wants to be a part of this practice squad or that practice squad. So we'll have those answers for you, and we'll crank another video out talking about those things when that occurs. But man, these Rams roster cuts, tough business. Tough for
Yeah,
sure.
and I think what's gonna happen is I bet you there's a, 2 or 3 changes on this, well, maybe not 2 or 3. There'll be at least 1, change on this 53-man roster in the next week or 2. And, what's worse, not making the 53 or making the 53 and then 2 days later, having Sean walk up to you and say, "Hey, man, we've picked up a player and you're off."
I know it's a brutal world, man. That's the NFL for you. The not for long league, as some
No.
people like to say it, or you'll hear me say every now and then too. But we wish them all the best, and we hope as many of these, young players are back on the practice squad in some capacity with the Rams. But all right, let's talk about the guys who made the team, and I think the most controversial, by far, we covered it a little bit so far, but these Rams inside linebackers, as you have Omar Spates penciled in as a starter, according to McVay. You have Nate Landman from Atlanta, the peanut punch master, apparently all through training camp, making everyone fumble. He is penciled in as a starter, according to McVay. Totally fine with that. Everything sounds great. Then you got Sean Dolak. And I think, you know what, man? Respect to that dude. Undrafted guy, was an All-American and went undrafted. Pretty crazy. We've talked about it a bunch. And for him to say, F it, I'm going to prove myself. Respect to you, my fellow teammate, rookie teammate, Chris Football Jr., but I'm going to outperform you, and I'm going to make this roster. And who cares if you were drafted, and who cares if I went undrafted? I'm getting myself a damn spot. And the way Sean talks about him, the way other young defenders on this roster have been impressed with him as he's gotten rotated in with the first team and gotten reps, obviously with the second team, how coaches months ago said, oh, yeah, Dolak can teach the defense to everyone right now if we ask him to. Months ago. And then the good film that he put out there, playing in these preseason games, right? Not playing in the third preseason game, practically, or not at all. We knew his roster spot was safe. And respect to that dude, man. He earned himself a spot, and we shall see. Injuries happen to these linebackers, right? You're smashing in little car crash collisions every play, defending the run, trying to run in pass coverage and make aggressive tackles, be physical. Injuries happen to these guys. We saw it last year. We've seen it in previous years. So you should feel good, Ramley, that if Sean Dolak gets summoned into a starting role because of injury, or he just flat out earns it, you should feel great, because I feel great about it, Mark.
Yeah, and a note about these 4 guys, I think I saw this on Yahoo, none of them were drafted, all of them undrafted
Yeah, it's
linebackers.
crazy, dude.
Yeah, and how I agree with you, how does Sean Dolak go undrafted? And, I was aware of him before the draft,
Mhm.
and as soon and, people were raving about his just the fact that he's a tackling machine, and sure enough, I think he's gonna be a tackling machine in the NFL if he gets his chances. And, I was looking at, last year's initial 53 compared to this year's. And one of the most striking differences is this group. Last year, we opened up with, and I don't mean to shame these guys or anything, but I think we are improved. We kicked off the season with Christian Roseboom, Jake Hummel, Elias Neal, who we just cut today, and Omar Spates and Troy Reeder. So this is definitely with Landman and Dolak being added. I think it's a significantly better group than last year. That's for sure.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, we know Omar is legit, right? As an undrafted man, we know everything based on what has gone on in joint practices, let alone just the normal practice flow. I mean, Nate Landman is the peanut punch master right now, making Kamara fumble, making our own players fumble, making Dallas Cowboys running backs fumble and tight end. So like that's an insanely great skill set to have. And of course, everyone talks about just how physical and strong he is. That's great news for any inside linebacker to get talked that way. And to Troy Reeder, look it. I get it, Rams Nation. Everyone's tired of him making this roster. But to Sean McVay's point, whether you agree with it or not, his value on special teams, his value as the only veteran player from the championship Rams team, the oldest linebacker in terms of just overall NFL experience. And that weighs way more heavily than I think anyone wants to just accept and take in. And to NFL coaches, again, experience over all the guys, experience in huge games, right? Playoff games, Super Bowls, or a Super Bowl, I should say. And he was a former green dot inside linebacker. So all that together is why he made the team over Chris Poopball Jr. And like Sean said, their value on special teams was just way better than Chris Paul Jr. So would I have liked to seen Chris Paul Jr. instead? Of course, for the future and the upside, but that long time experience of winning football, right? Being a part of winning teams, being a mic signal caller, playing important snaps in the 2021 Super Bowl playoff run, yada, yada, yada. That's why he made the team. And all that matters more than I think all of us are willing to accept. And that's just the truth. Right, Mark?
Yeah, and two things to consider here. The Rams, he could be the fourth linebacker to see the field, right? He could be
Yeah.
the number four guy, and if his weakness, I think we can all agree, has been in coverage. And
Yeah, absolutely.
if he's playing special teams, he's not going to be. You don't have to worry about pass coverage, right? So they're going to let him play to his strengths in that special teams, and if something drastic happens and he'll end up seeing time at inside linebacker. But I suspect, if these guys stay healthy, we may never see Troy Reader
Yeah.
on the field in defense.
And again, he is not the Mike guy starting week one like last year, Rams Nation. So it's not like a what the hell are we doing? Like I know people felt last year. It is Nate Landman. It is Omar Spates. And then Sean Dolek's a guy who got green dot responsibilities and could teach the defense according to coaches on, on that side of the ball. So I think that's the order of guys got to play, which totally fine with me. But it is what it is. And let's move on. Let's go win a championship. Simple as that. Fingers crossed. So moving on to the D lineman, my fellow Ramley. And it's important with this graphic here. Yes, it is in two categories. It says D lineman and DE for D ends. Now, for the 3-4 base defense that the Rams have, 3 meaning 3 D tackles, the 4 meaning 4 linebackers, there was a nose tackle and then 2 other D tackles. But the correct by the book terminology would be that nose tackle is a D lineman, and the guys who are lined up next to that nose tackle D lineman are technically, quote unquote, defensive ends. No, they are not Myles Garrett D end uh, or a Khalil Mack D end or whoever else fits that. Max Crosby is a D end, and those guys are in 4-3 schemes. Again, a little bit different, but by the book names, yes, Laryl Murchison's a D end. Yes, Braden Fisk is a D end. Tyler Davis, Kobe Turner, Dejuan Johnson, and then the big boys, Ty Hamilton and Puna Ford, are by the book called D linemen. But we all know the D linemen are nose tackles and the D ends are D tackles. Just want to explain that real quick in case people are like, what? That doesn't make sense. They don't play on the end, Kobe, la, 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 la. So that's what that means. Long story short. But this is a pretty dang good group that made the team, Mark. I mean, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I was surprised they kept 7, and in my roster predictions, I thought it was the last spot was between Deshaun and Murchison, and they ended up keeping both.
Yeah.
And that's a little peculiar to me. And I'm wondering, and maybe you have some thoughts on this. Is there a concern? I know I saw a couple of notes. Folks a little bit concerned about Ty Hamilton. How are we feeling about him? How do you feel about him right now?
The young buck, I mean, still a young player, still has a lot of room to grow. But I think the Rams coaching staff, if I had to guess, they like his size. They probably like his play strength. And you can never have too many trench guys, Mark. I mean, these guys are in serious mini car crash collisions every play, right? And people get rolled up on, people get concussed, People play injured, separate shoulders, ankle this, knee this. I mean, it happens very frequently. Any of those guys that are involved in just colliding with each other every
Yeah.
single play, to have as deep of a group as possible that you're comfortable with is important. And if you're
Yeah.
physical and you have good traits, and obviously they have to be coached up, they have to be, you know, funneled into something positive. They must feel that way about Ty Hamilton. And, you know, they're not expecting him to be a playmaking sack artist like Braden and Kobe. They want him like Puna Ford. Hey, be a big son of a gun in that middle and do your job, clog that gap, and let the other guys go hunt and feast. And that's
Yeah.
totally okay with me. I think that's
Yeah,
fine.
this is a really good group, and did a
Oh,
little
yeah.
reading on Deshaun Johnson. I didn't see this for myself. I haven't seen enough of the tape. Apparently, he played a little bit of outside linebacker in one of these preseason games,
Oh,
and
that's correct.
so
Yep, that's right.
he is very versatile. And if I'm reading this correctly, he led the NFL with 11 quarterback pressures this preseason. So he's coming on.
Yeah, I forgot about that he was playing some outside. I mean, duh, we've talked about it. But
And which maybe is why, yeah, it just occurred to me, they're down 1 outside linebacker from last year from 5 to 4. They add a defensive lineman, they go from 6 to 7, but then you got Deshaun Johnson there who can kinda play both, so maybe that's what they did here.
yeah, and I think you're right about that. But this group as a whole, feel great about it, right? Your starters are gonna be Puna Ford at the nose tackle, Kobe Turner and Braden at the other traditional D tackle or D end quote unquote spots. And then everyone's talked great about Tyler Davis. People are happy with what Dejuan Johnson has done, both playing outside linebacker, playing some D tackle. Laurel Murchison has done good things. And then Ty Hamilton, has got the physical tools with the upside you hope, develops into something positive and meaningful for this roster. So good group, but I guess let's pivot to those outside linebackers. And I guess, yeah, Dejuan Johnson's an unofficial outside linebacker, but who are the guys that are penciled in as that position? Well, not a shock, right? Byron Young, Agent Zero. You got Jared Verse, Defensive Rookie of the Year, number 8. Cool number for a defensive guy. And then Nick Hampton and third round pick out of Michigan, Josiah Stewart. I mean, no shocks here, Mark. Obviously, Byron and Jared, who are freak athletes, their build, their strength, the speed. I mean, they almost look alike out there, and they wear the same helmet. They both, have numbers that could be confused if the jersey kind of scrunches up, right? 8 and 0. And those guys are freaking awesome. And then, we're hopeful to see good things with Josiah getting rotated in, Nick Hampton. And then, we'll throw, Dejuan Johnson in there as well. But I expect a
Yeah.
lot of this group. I really, really do.
Yeah, 3 of the 5 guys from last year return. We lose, Hoyt and Brennan Jackson. And, Nick Hampton, often overlooked, he is a special team stud. I keep on saying it over and over again. I'm glad he's back from that injury. He's, such a
Yeah.
vital part of, special teams.
Yeah, I mean, the special teams matters, just like what Sean's point about the inside linebackers. But with the outside linebackers being trench guys, to my point about the D linemen, you're in many car crash collisions every single play, whether it be defending the run, containing the edge, blitzing with interesting stunts with other D tackles or D linemen, whether that would be, rushing the passer traditionally, getting a good bend with your speed or power like Jared and Byron will do occasionally as well. It's physical. So you need guys to be able to rotate in and play some meaningful snaps. And let's call it what it is with the Super Bowl season, we had a lot of outside linebackers play serious snaps and play good football for us. So it's important to have a lot of those dudes on the outside play well. And we know Byron and Jared will. We'll see if Josiah can hold up. We'll see if Nick and then even Dejuan Johnson in his moments, if he plays there too. But I expect a lot out of this group, and we're going to need it. We're going to need a lot.
Yeah, it's a good looking group. Not a lot of holes so far on this roster as we work through this.
Yeah, not a lot at all, which is, that's a great sign. But man, oh man, may the health of the trench of the Rams trenches stay alive and be well. As the DBs, the secondary as a whole, I think that's a pretty dang deep group as well. Now that we've gotten development out of guys, we've claimed other dudes, but the defensive backs, Mark, as we'll start with the corners here, Kella Witherspoon, the veteran, who have saved our seasons multiple times, it feels now in recent memory. Kobe Durant, the young man, the young buck, who has improved year after year, in my opinion. Former first-round pick Emmanuel Forbes Jr. makes his team. Josh Wallace, shout out to him with his versatility. Sean McVay talked about him playing inside, outside, safety. There's a reason why he's making this roster. Former Super Bowl champion, back in number 31, by the way. He's worn a lot of numbers with us, it feels like. It's been 11, 31, 24, right? But now he's back in 31, and that's one of his OG numbers from his Rams days in Jacksonville, time spent there. So, yeah, you're like, who's 31? Yep, that is Darius Williams. He is no longer 11, no longer 24. And safeties, Jalen McCullough, an undrafted man who balled out last year when he got his opportunities. Cam Curl, the thumper, the traditional strong box safety, makes his team again. Young University of Miami interception king, it feels like, Cameron Kitchens makes his team again. And then the versatile do-it-all Captain Q, Quinn Lake, makes his team, of course. But, I mean, damn, Mark, it's a pretty good group right here, in my opinion, too.
Yeah, like we've been saying all summer, no Pro Bowlers here, probably. Very unlikely.
Sure.
But some really good players and very versatile. I think Chris Shula loves the versatility, loves DBs that can be used in a lot of different ways. And aside from Witherspoon and Darius, the rest of these guys, you could play them a lot of different spots. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to mix and match and give these players some freedom, I think, to attack offenses as things change, real time, and just a really good group. And I'm excited to see what Forbes can do, prove himself after being waived by the Commanders. That's crazy if you think about it. And here he is on our 53-man roster, added a little bit of weight apparently. Yeah, really good group. A lot of young players, man. Now, last year, interestingly, we opened up with 11 DBs, but I think that was because we had some question marks. Remember, we had Trey White was one of our starting cornerbacks last year at this time.
I know.
John Johnson and Russ Yeast.
Yeah.
And no knock on them, but I think we have improvements here as far as that goes. Charles Woods was on that team, was on the initial 53 as well. So yeah, rock solid group.
It's a great group. And again, I know I talked already about Josh Wallace's versatility, safety, inside, outside corner. And, we saw Kobe play a little bit on the inside. Again, he's made it known he's not as comfortable as the outside and he'd rather play outside. But we know that in a pinch, he could do it to some degree. Emmanuel Forbes, the former first-round pick, with his skill set, I think, in a pinch, could he play some inside? Probably. That's good. McCullough, traditional safety, strong safety, nickel, dime linebacker, right? He's played at tons of different spots, great versatility. Cameron Curl being a traditional strong, but he can play in the box, make tough tackles, play in that linebacker, inside linebacker area of the field. Cameron Kitchens, I think, could play at all different spots as well. I think more of a traditional free safety. And then Quentin Lake, Captain Q, playing everywhere on the damn field as well. So outside of just what their normal starting spots or playing time spots will be, I mean, we got a lot of guys that can fill in at other, quote unquote, defensive back positions. And that's key because, look, let's be real about it. Defense, guys are going to get banged up. Guys will get rolled up on, shoulder this, hand this, ankle this. So as many guys you can assemble that can fill in those needed spots and not be such an insane downgrade is key. And that's going to be the key for any Super Bowl run with this defense. But overall, Mark, if this Rams defense, not even just DBs, but the entire defense as a whole is not hovering around top 10, it'll be a disappointment. I'm not joking, honestly.
Yeah, and I think I'll also be disappointed if we don't improve in the takeaway department. Now, Kinchins and McCullough demonstrated big playability.
Yeah.
And if this defensive front brings the pressure even more so this year, we're going to have a lot of takeaway. We're going to have a lot of splash plays by these guys. That's what I hope to see. And then, we're counting on Puna, Ford, and Landman to help solve the run defense issue. We'll have to, well, we need that to happen.
Yeah.
We can't just assume it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But if they that's still the one thing we have to be a little concerned about. And the teams are probably going to attack us on the ground because you got Jared First and Kobe Turner and Fisk and Byron Young, all these guys. They're going to try to run it down our throat, and we're going to have to prove that we can stop the run.
Yeah.
But if we can, man, this defense is going to be lights out.
Yeah. They need to be hovering around top 10, or they should be in the top 10. Yeah, I think anything less than that is a disappointment. And again, we've got young guys, we have unproven dudes with this team specifically, but based on everyone we just went through on defense, it would be, I think, a disappointment in the building, and it should be a disappointment in the fan base, and including us two here, if they're not hovering around top 10 or not top 10 in some capacity. So we shall see. But high expectations for a high expectation season. And I think that's completely fair. They can't stop anybody. You can kiss Super Bowl chances goodbye. That's just the truth. But I don't expect that to be the case, barring good
Well,
health or bad health, however you want to look at it. But right on, Rams Nation. Right on with the defense. But how about let's get to the trench guys, man. O-line. As Sean McVay said, in years past, we've carried, 9 or less. Mark, you said that as well, 9 or less. But I think with the uncertain status of Alaric Jackson's blood clots long term, not just for week 1, and the scars of the 2022 campaign, the scars of last season, right? If you think about everyone getting beat up week 1, suspensions, ankle injury before in training camp with Rob, and yada 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 yada. I mean, you can't have enough linemen. And to my point about the trenches and just car crash collisions every single play, ankles get rolled up on, shoulder this, knee this, hand this, yada, yada, yada. This is a good group in my opinion, right? Rob Havenstein, one of the last St. Louis Rams guys, penciled in as a starter. Newly paid Alaric Jackson, who's a Pro Bowl level offensive lineman in my opinion, at the left tackle spot. Young Steve Avila at guard. You got DJ Humphries as a backup, former Pro Bowl guy. Warren McClendon Jr., who is, had some good moments at right tackle filling in. Pro Bowl level Kevin Dotson. David Quisenberry, who's gotten a lot of starting experience. Young Justin Dietich. Coleman Shellen, the LA native, coming back as a starter now. And then you got Bo Limmer, who was an awesome rookie, in my opinion, last year. And, shouldn't have gone benched so quickly. That's a separate conversation. But good group, Mark. Really good group.
Yeah, I mean, they're carrying 10 for a couple of reasons. I think Sean and all of us, we're still traumatized by that Super Bowl hangover year when all those guys got hurt. I think ideally you would carry 9 offensive linemen.
Yeah.
And I think if there was no concerns about Alaric Jackson, they would probably be carrying 9, but I understand them carrying 10. And yeah, it's a solid group. It's set up perfectly, really. You got 3 solid interior offensive linemen. You got Dietich that can play all 3 spots. Bo Limmer can play all 3 spots in a pinch. Warren McClendon, he can basically play everywhere except center, I think,
Yeah.
if needed. And then you got 2 experienced backup tackles. So what more could you ask for? Not really. There have been years, we all remember it, where we're thinking if any one of these guys go down, we're in trouble. And now I feel like,
I know.
our second string offensive line would probably be serviceable. It's not going to, win us a Super Bowl, but so we're in good shape.
Yeah, this should be a top 10 group as well. But at least the O-line as a whole. Sincerely, in terms of run blocking, in terms of pass blocking, name 10 other rosters right now in your head, my fellow Ramley, that are better than this group. 10 of them. Can you think of 10? All right. Eagles, Buffalo Bills are pretty good, right?
Lions,
Cheese
maybe
Louise, right?
the
Colts
Lions.
have a good O-line, right? I think the Buccaneers have a good line. Vikings have a good line, in my opinion. Chargers pre-mega injury to their left tackle, I thought was in that group, right? Detroit Lions, maybe Green Bay Packers, Baltimore. I mean, how many is that I just named? I should have been keeping track in my head, but not many, right? I don't think a lot of these other teams are better, right? Kansas City has gotten their ass whooped on the O-line, even though, yes, they've gone to Super Bowls. Pittsburgh, no. Who else are Super Bowls contenders? San Francisco, no. Seattle, no. Any team you would consider Super Bowl teams, a lot of their O-lines aren't that great. I mean, Rams O-line should be, barring health, right? We want good health. If everyone stays healthy and plays to their potential, I mean, this is a top 10 O-line. I don't think it's debatable. And I expect that out of them. I do.
Yeah, and Rob Havenstein, he'll never get his due, the recognition he deserves. Man, that guy has been so good, and he just keeps on plugging away, and well, he's a great player.
Yeah, he is. And, if everything goes according to plan and this team earns the right to play in a Super Bowl and then handles business and, hopefully wins one, I expect him to call it a career. And that would be a great way to send off the last St. Louis Ram, big Rob Havenstein. And hey, he's in the final year of his contract. I think he's hoping for a Peyton Manning walk-off, right? Win a championship, see you later. Ray Lewis, win a championship, see you later. And I think that would be a great ending to the final St. Louis Ram. And I hope that happens for him. But barring good health, top 10 unit. I don't think that's a debate, Ramley. Seriously.
I
And
agree.
speaking of, OGs on this team, I love me some Tyler Higbee, everyone, as number 89, in my opinion, the best Rams tight end ever. Right? Who else is in that conversation, sincerely? So here we are. Good old reliable Tyler Higbee making the team, penciled in as the number one guy. Not a shock. Then you have young Terrence Ferguson, who, hey, we saw some good moments from him in the Cleveland game. That's very positive. He makes the team as a second-round pick, right? He's not very disposable, even if he hasn't practiced much. Colby Parkinson, the big free agent of last year, he's got great value, just not as a starter. Totally fine with him sticking around. And then young Davis Allen, when he played a bunch his rookie year back in 2023, I thought he played really, really well when he got opportunities. And then in moments where he got opportunities last season, he proved himself. So this is a good room. I mean, is this, Mark, the best tight end room in Rams history? I mean, I can't think of another tight end room, 1, 2, 3, and 4, that all could play, all could catch, all could block. And obviously, yes, we got to see Terrence out there against starting guys. But in theory, we've seen the other three guys. Group of 4, this is a really good group of 4 right now.
Yeah, when you consider Davis Allen as our fourth guy, and he's proven himself in my mind as a pass
Yeah.
catching tight end, going up the seam, making big catches. He's done it a few times for us. Colby Parkinson, maybe limit it to 12 personnel, perhaps, maybe. I don't really know. I heard Sean say something about I believe it was Sean McVay about how excited he is to have Higbee and Ferguson playing in 12 personnel together. So they'll probably mix and match. And then, Tyler's Tyler, one of my favorite players, tough as nails, and Terrence Ferguson. I think we might be really pleased with his production this year. I made an offhanded comment to my neighbor who was heading out for his fantasy football draft, and I said, maybe take a flyer on Terrence Ferguson late in your draft. And he didn't even know who I was talking about, but didn't even know who he was, but he could be that guy this year, a tight. It's probably not going to happen early in the season, but week 4, 5, 6 could be for Terrence Ferguson time.
Yeah, and I expect all of them to get some type of playing time. Sincerely, they all are capable. Again, Davis Allen has started games for us, and that's so positive. As I stumble my words there, just thinking about it, just picturing, 14 personnel, 4 tight ends, or something crazy, which would not be some dumb idea because all of them can catch, all of them can block, and that's valuable. Why not deploy them all? And I expect all of them to play every week in some capacity. Now, would it be a lot of snaps for Davis or Colby or Terrence? altogether with Tyler? Probably not. But again, if your fourth tight end, which is Davis Allen right now, is starting games and you don't have like this serious worry about it, that's a great sign. So I hope to see them all play just to keep, Tyler Higbee fresh, who's been injured a ton throughout his career as he just plays with such a great physical nature. As again, that tight end position is also part of the mini car crashes on every play as a trench guy, them lined up with the O lineman, blocking D tackles, blocking D ends in the run game, even some pass, blocking situations for them. We need guys fresh. We need Higbee ready to go for a hopeful Super Bowl run come January, and fingers crossed beyond that. So great tight end room, and my opinion, the best tight end room in Rams history, based on talent, skill, experience, blocking. Good room right here, Mark, for sure.
Yeah, I went back. It was bothering me. Who were our tight ends when we won the Super Bowl with the greatest show on turf? And it was Ernie Conwell and Jeff Robinson. And I think
Hmm.
I think this group's far better than that. I think give you some greatest
Yeah,
show on
I
turf
don't think that's a
perspective
question.
there.
I mean, crazy, man. This is the best tight end room. I don't think that's a debate. But hey, hopefully good health for Mr. Higbee and everyone else. And we shall see. But everyone should be excited. Young Ferguson. And then see what Davis Allen could do as the young guys. But as we move on to other pass catchers, I don't think any of this is a shock either, Rams Nation. Shout out to those dang wide receivers. As you got pictured here, Puka Nacua and his new number 12, the family number from his college days, high school days. Devontae Adams now in 17 in horns as he keeps his, NFL pro number. And then you got Tutu Atwell on that 10-year, $10 million 1-year deal. Imagine a 10-year deal. Tutu Atwell. Then you got young Konate Mumfield making plays. Jordan Whittington, who we all are excited about to see what he can do in year 2. And then you got Xavier Smith. And I think this room is pretty dang good too. Very versatile, Rams Nation. Speaking with Puka, the best blocking wide receiver in the NFL, I think by far, based on what he's asked to do, block like a fullback and run plays, D ends, inside linebackers, D tackles, his physicality after the catch, making crazy catches, the speed when he needs to turn it on. He can outrun any defender, it feels like, if he hits the right gear. And then Devontae Adams, the future Hall of Fame player. Let's be real about it. One of the best players of this generation at the wide receiver position. Still cooking dudes, still looks fast, still looks smooth, still has great hands. Hopefully the red zone stuff improves with his ability out there, back shoulder, fade balls, et cetera, et cetera. Tutu Atwell, we've been clamoring for his, more, I guess, clamoring for his opportunity to be wider, meaning, hey, get him some damn snaps. Because every time he was asked to fill in for injured guys, dude was, 5 catches for 70 something yards, 80 something yards. Oh, yeah, he can run routes. Oh, he can, run good outs, ins, digs, comebacks, stop and goes, deep stuff. I mean, Tutu's versatile. We'll see how many touchdowns and big yardage he has. And then Jordan Whittington, the Puka Nacua light, blocks A+, one of the next best blocking wide receivers, in my opinion. Blocks like a fullback, D ends, linebackers, D tackles. Great run after the catch. Looks smooth in route running. And then Xavier Smith, the former punt return man, right? He was making crazy plays this preseason, showed a lot in practice. And then young Konate Mumfield with his route running, Devontae Adams was really impressed as a rookie. Like, man, this guy runs some filthy routes, great movement, great feet. So then, Sean McVay and Eric Yarber, the wide receiver coach, they value that heavily. So they were not going to let that go. So I say a lot to say, Mark, is this the best Rams wide receiver group, top to bottom in the McVay
Yeah.
era? I'll keep it the McVay era. Greatest show on turf. Let's not kid ourselves. But in the McVay era, top to bottom.
Well, it probably is, and I heard McVay, kinda suggest that, and what that tells me, reading between the lines here, remember we've had wide receiver groups with Demarcus Robinson, Cooper Kupp, and Puka Nacua, not too shabby. Whittington was on that team, and then we've had Robert Woods. We've had, we've had some good receivers, good receiving groups on this team. Um, Brandon Cooks. But what it tells me is, he really, really must hold Mumpfield in high esteem, is what it's telling me. Because if he's considering this group, really, what do we do? We changed out Cup for Adams and added Mumpfield. And other than that, it's pretty much the same unit, right? And all of a sudden, he's calling it his best unit ever. It's got to be something going on with Mumpfield. And I will say, someone else mentioned on one of the channels or social media somewhere that when they were attending practices and they didn't see much going on with Tutu Atwell, and then when they had the joint practices, Tutu was lighting it up, suggesting that the Rams are have some stuff under wraps for Tutu Atwell, and I hope they do, and I'm betting they do. The remaining question I have is, there's reason to be excited about all of these guys and what they can do this year. Someone's going to get shortchanged. It's just the way it's going to work out. It always does. I expect Xavier Smith is not going to get a lot of snaps as a wide receiver. Would be my expectation. Of the other guys, it's probably going to be Whittington, Mumfield, and Tutu battling for snaps and targets. And we're probably going to be disappointed. They're going to be disappointed in how it works out. But overall, the unit's going to thrive. I expect really high. I have extremely high expectations. No idea how it's going to go, who the impact guy is going to be, who's going to really blow things up for us. But I can't wait to see.
Yeah. If this passing unit, and I'll include the tight ends in this as well, and we'll get the quarterbacks in a second and running backs, but if this passing unit of pass catchers, I should say, isn't hovering around top 10 in the league, I mean, what a massive failure. Let's be honest. Let's be real about it. Nakua isn't killing people weekly. If Devontae Adams isn't killing dudes weekly out there, if Tutu isn't burning guys, whether he makes a big catch or even if he draws pass interference from a defender, right? That's a fantastic positive play, whether he makes the catch or not. And then when Jordan Whittington gets his opportunity and or Xavier Smith or Konate Mumfield, they're not, showing off their unique and special skill sets and doing well, with the tight ends and their pass catch ability. If they're not hovering around top 10 or not top 10 as their overall as a passing group on offense, I mean, what a massive disappointment and failure, in my opinion. Way too much talent in this wide receiver group, way too much talent in the tight end group. And then obviously Matthew Stafford pulling the trigger at quarterback. I mean, there's just no excuse. No excuse.
Yeah, and you
Honestly.
left out our mad scientist coach too.
Oh,
He
yeah, of
should
course.
be he should be able to draw up some pretty slick stuff with this group and this quarterback and this tight end group for sure.
Yeah. I mean, we all love Cooper Kupp, but let's not kid ourselves. Devontae, as an older player, older than Cooper, I mean, he's just better right now. That's just the facts. And we all saw it on film last year. We noticed it. We talked about it a ton. And, the Rams are cutthroat. They made the move. They got Devontae. And look it. I expect a lot. No Allen Robinson BS this time around. I expect Devontae to cook dudes on a weekly basis and be productive. And anything less than that with him or the passing unit, what a massive failure it is. Let's just be real about it. But how about the guy and the quarterback room as a whole? Dudes are going to have to get these dudes, those catches and production out there on the freaking football field. But geez Louise, guys. Matthew Stafford, bless his back. And I'll just end on that. We've talked about it enough. Good juju. Good juju out there for the back of Matthew Stafford and his health. Him, Jimmy Garoppolo, who's had a lot of good moments in practice. Didn't have a good Saints joint practice. We talked about it a ton. That had me worried. But we know that he can go out there and throw the rock and is not some, Sean Mannion or, Bryce Perkins. We're like, yeah, the passing game's cooked. We're screwed, right? John Wolford at the end, even though he had good moments with us. But Garoppolo as your backup, good. And then, shout out to Stetson Bennett, the fourth, for having another fun preseason of drama and, some good throws in there. So 1, 2, 3, No matter who's in at quarterback, get the damn ball to Nakua, Devontae, Higbee, and the pass catching group. But we all know with Glock 9, as shout out Devontae saying and calling him that, Matthew Stafford on an Instagram post where, Matthew was finally back at practice and he threw a quick out red zone touchdown to Devontae. And Devontae reposted it on his socials and was like, yep, Glock 9 is a bad man. And yes, he is. And according to all reports, Stafford's been throwing excellent. The zip on the passes look no different. His, arm strength, the power, the finesse, the touch, every type of throw layered into every level of a defense. Everyone's been like, yeah, Stafford looks great. He looks like a Hall of Fame quarterback like he always has been. And I need that passing attack to be top 10. Simple as that, Mark. But a good quarterback room. We should feel good about 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, it's like the perfect quarterback room, right? You got one of the best clutch quarterbacks in the league. You got a guy backing him up who's won a lot of football games in the NFL, can run the offense, can step in, maybe not make all the throws, and maybe not be quite the gunslinger, more of a game manager type. But I'd feel confident that Jimmy could get you some W's. And then a rising, young quarterback, Stetson Bennett, he's got some swag, right? I feel like he's got some swag
What do they
generating over
call him?
there.
The mailman? I keep hearing that. I'm like, where did that come from? They're like, the
Yeah.
mailman's return.
Yeah, well, I saw him when he threw that game-winning touchdown and just
That was
kinda
fun, yeah.
walked away like, "No big deal. I
He
got
gave the
this."
flex. He gave the flex. He was like,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
was fun, man. But
So the only thing that's missing is, a quarterback that can extend plays, that type of stuff, and create off schedule maybe. Sometimes it's good to have those type of guys as your backup when things go sideways. They can win games with their feet a little bit. We don't have that, but other than that, love this group, and it really is. It sets up perfectly, and hopefully we will not see Jimmy or Stetson on the field again until next preseason. But but
yeah.
yeah, we can go win a Super Bowl with this group.
Oh, absolutely. That again, a great 1, 2, 3 quarterback room. All right, hey, Cleveland, Joe Flacco, Dylan Gabriel, Shador Sanders. That's a fun 1, 2, 3, but let's be real. Let's not kid ourselves. That's that's all for fun. Even though, hey, I like Dylan Gabriel's film based on Oregon. But yeah, hopefully no Jimmy Garoppolo appearances and break glass, no Stetson Bennett appearances, but let Glock 9 lead the way. Let's light people up through the air, and we know he can do it. And then running backs, not a surprise here, Rams Nation. Kyron Williams just got paid. Shout out to him. We're big Kyron guys here. I know a lot of people are like, anyone could do it, but Kyron's such a good pass blocker, a great, bell cow runner, right? Coaches have said he's looked more explosive. He's looked faster. We'll see week 1 and beyond how true that is. Blake Corum, I really liked. He was, looking a lot faster, stronger, more explosive, had better grasp of the playbook, according to coaches. I expect him when he gets his opportunities to do well, just like he did last season, having big run plays, but they were called back, holding, dumb offensive penalties that weren't on him. And then the young man from Auburn, Jarquez Hunter, an Auburn man for, less needs enjoyment, as he looks like a good power back. And he didn't get a lot of opportunity to break runs, but in practice and joint practice, people said when he got a lane, he ran by people and scored long touchdowns. So not a shock with those guys. And I expect whether, Kyron can't play or he gets a breather, I expect Blake to do well. I expect Jarquez to be productive, maybe not as comfortable as Blake, and of course Kyron as a Pro Bowl guy, an all pro guy. But that's a good 1, 2, 3 right there too, Mark. Not many rooms have that. And I think we should feel good about this group of guys that have played meaningful football, been in big games. Jarquez has carried an offense, right? He knows what it's like to be a bell cow and be a feature guy to score any type of points. I think all that's valuable. And I expect this rushing game again, maybe because the passing game gets elevated like we're hoping, but I expect Kyron to be 1,000-yard rusher, 10 plus touchdowns. Hopefully Blake, will be productive and maybe his yards per carry will be good, not necessarily the total yardage of the season. Hopefully he gets a couple touchdowns. And if Jarquez in there, I want his yards per carry to be acceptable and positive. And I think that's very likely and should be the case for this running back room.
Yeah, I have no idea what McVay is going to do with this group because we've seen in the past where, he's just really reluctant to run the number 2 and 3 running backs out there. I always
Yeah,
saw Blake a little bit last year, but I'm wondering if my thought on this is that Kyron and Blake is Kyron's backup, and Kyron will get the majority of the carries, obviously, and Jarquez
yeah,
Hunter will get they'll use him in spots, they'll use him in certain spots, um, you know, um, just in different ways. I can only venture to guess how certain situations. Hopefully, he gets a significant number of carries. We get all excited about these running backs, and basically they're could be a redshirt season for Hunter, to be quite honest. But
yeah.
I'm hoping they find spots for him.
I hope so too. But great 1, 2, 3 right there, and I think everyone should feel good. And again, I know there's a lot of Kyron Williams haters out there. I get his flaws. Again, if he fumbles a ton, I mean, Blake will get put in there, and I think that's acceptable and fine if that dark timeline scenario unfolds that way, or Kyron's from fumbling issues in big games pops up, whether it be a primetime game, a hopeful playoff game, or 2 or 3 or 4. Then I guess we'll deal with it and talk about it then, right? But high expectations for this offense. A top 10 unit overall, I think, should be obtained, and a top 10 unit on defense should be obtained based on the talent and skill, right? I don't think any of that's crazy, Rams Nation. But you know what else is pretty dang important? The kicking game. Because let's say we don't score a touchdown every drive like our dreams and what we hope and what we always are looking forward to, whether you're watching the game on TV or at the game in SoFi or any other stadium. But that dang kicking game better be in order, right, Rams Nation? And the lone kicker, no kicking competition like in years past where we were worried about it. Shout out to California native Joshua Carty. Uh, 16, number 16. That's a good number for a kicker. Is our lone guy. Played really well all the end of last season. Made all his kicks in preseason. Maybe we'll get some kickoff opportunities depending on the scenario and who is back there. Very, very possible. You never know. But in years past, we've been spoiled with Greg Zuerlein. We were spoiled with Matt Gay. I know we had that year of dread of kicking issues, right, back in 2023. But it's good to have Cardi here, and I hope to see him continue to make long field goals, to be clutch. And again, if he gets out there for kickoff opportunities, maybe there's a certain kick he's really good at and develops that skill, he doesn't get hurt. So, but I mean, your thoughts on Cardi real quick, Mark, and the Rams' confidence in him going forward. That's good.
I got a really good feeling about him. Obviously, he finished strong, and I think he's got the right demeanor, what the demeanor you want, the attitude you want in your kicker. And we saw improvement as the year went on. And yeah, I have, I'll still be stressing, especially early in the year. But yeah, we're in a good place with our place kicker. We're in a lot better place than our friends up north in Santa Clara. That's for sure.
Yeah. Yep. 49ers universe, their Instagram, Twitter, Reddit boards, posts, tweets, everyone's over Moody. And hey, we drafted our kicker late, and if he didn't work out, then so be it. You draft a guy with a high valuable pick. Was it third round? I want to say for them
Third
over
round,
there.
yeah,
So that's
third round.
tough. Not that we haven't drafted guys and things haven't worked out at the kicker position too. Sloman, other dudes I'm blanking on, but shout out to Cardi. I expect him to be the best California kicker in the National Football League. That's for sure. But speaking of just kicking overall, I mean, this dude on McAfee show, squatting gazillion pounds, big dude, right? Working on his kickoff, specialties of getting the kick in the landing zone, maybe even bombing it the, the entire way, right? We hope a big season out of him, punting the football. But, man, I mean, the dude, I expect a lot out of him too, Mark, Rams Nation, as he is somebody I expect to get a lot of run on punt, right? To get a lot of run on kickoff and even make some tackles, if we're being real about it, right? Ethan Evans, and then
Yeah,
shout out to Alex Ward being the long snapper, of course.
Yeah, now how do so yeah, Ethan Evans, I thought, we knew he had the powerful leg, and at the end of last year, he got to be really a really good directional kicker as well. What I'm interested in, and people have asked on the YouTube channel, and I'm not sure I have the answer, is who's going to handle the kickoffs, and it could be more of a situational decision, and
Mhm.
what's their approach going to be. But regardless, the Rams have two guys that can handle it. I think Ethan Evans will be the primary guy on kickoffs, obviously, but there could be situations where they use Cardi. I don't know. Yeah, but yeah, two solid kickers, two young kickers that are growing together. Nice little unit we have here. Yeah, and we've had no issues with our snapping for as long as I can remember.
Yeah, I mean, my God, if we get snapping issues, I'll melt.
I shouldn't have said that.
No, I know. I'm just saying, but like that's the last thing we need. And then then it's like, oh, blame the holder, oh, blame the kicker, and that's all fair, right? Because Sean McVay has mentioned this, and this is true that whole unit operates as one. If everything's off kilter, like the whole group gets blamed, right? And we just hope Mr. Ward, Alex Ward, 47 long snapper, continue your good long snapping, both on punts
There you
and
go.
PATs and field goals, and then you'll hopefully get a nice championship ring at the end of this campaign as well, if all goes well. But good group overall. But Mark Ramley, this is a Super Bowl team. Let's not kid ourselves. Based on everyone we just went through, who made this roster, and all the guys who weren't good enough, quote unquote, to make this roster, that just proves to you that this team is Super Bowl or bust. I talked about it last episode in the post-game reaction. Kevin Demoff said this is the best assembled Rams team since he has been involved with the organization. And obviously the best team in this LA 2.0 era, right? That's what I like to call it. And if the president's saying that on NFL Network, right, to the public to be digested, that is huge. And to be honest, I feel the same way. Top to bottom, starters to backups to, I guess, quote unquote, third string guys that are on this 53. There is no reason why this team shouldn't finish in top 10 in every side of the ball. Kicking, punting, kickoff, PAT, field goals, obviously a part of that. Offense, defense, D line, sacks, tackles, secondary, interceptions, passes broken down, tackles, touchdowns, receiving, scoring, rushing touchdowns, quarterback rating efficiency. I mean, there's just no reason why this team shouldn't be a Final Four team in the NFC Championship and shouldn't have a great chance to win a Super Bowl in February. I don't think there's any way around that, Mark.
And a great coaching staff,
That
and
too.
that counts for a lot too. And yeah, the only thing that's gonna my only worry is the schedule and their ability to, they're probably it's gonna be very difficult to grab a number one seed in this division and with this schedule. But
Yeah.
hey, even if they're a 3 or 4 seed, 5 seed, it's good. They're good enough to go on a run and win the Super Bowl. Just got to get into the dance, and I'm sure they will. And yeah,
Yeah.
you look up and down this roster and, I get excited about this group or that group, and I haven't even thought about a guy like Kobe Turner for a while, and I go like, holy crap, we got Kobe Turner too. And I do that every day with different players I've kind of forgotten about that are studs. Quentin Lake up and down the roster, just really strong players scattered throughout. So yeah, really excited about this team. And the other thing about the Rams is and I don't want to be, suggesting it's going to happen, but if we get off to a slow start, this team knows and the fan base knows, we get out of the gate 1-2, no big deal. It's not a good place to be, but
Yeah.
they've proven they can get that turned around just fine. So, don't go crazy and start jumping off bridges if the Rams start out slow. They're going to be just fine, and I'm thinking they're going to get out of the gate really fast because this team is pumped and ready to roll, I think.
Yeah, I think so too. And for damn sakes, let's not start 1-4 or
Yeah.
whatever. 3-6. I mean, geez Louise. Got enough gray hairs for other things in life. I don't need it with this. All right. So okay, Sean, give me some good play calling days. Let's get some good play calling days from you too, Chris Shula, and then Chase Blackburn, and all you guys. Let's set our players up for success. Let's not just go pass happy with a quarterback with back issues. Let's have them throw 60 times a game. Let's be balanced. Let's run the damn football, and then defense with the back end and the front end work together in tandem so we can get quick 3 and outs, get sacks, get turnovers, peanut punch, interceptions, whatever it is, strip sacks. I'm excited for this season. I'm excited about this 53-man roster. I'm excited for the practice squad potential. And I'm excited for this magical run that I think is destined to happen. Whether it ends hosting Lombardi Trophy, I think this season is going to be really damn fun. And I can't wait for week 1. And it's very, very soon. I will be there with family for that opener against Houston. And I'm freaking excited. And that should be fun. But anything else before we get out of here, Mark?
No, we should remind everybody this. I know you're really excited about this, Ian. The new uniform debuting in a couple of days, and I assume you may jump on and review it, critique it. So that's coming up, and yeah, we'll be bouncing back on here over the next week or two. I'm sure there's going to be a lot more news to cover as this roster develops, the practice squad and such, and what else is going around the NFL. I'm going to touch on all the Rams players, ex-Rams players. A lot of them getting released. Some of them making teams. So I like to get back to that this time of year as well. See where all these ex-Rams are ending up. But the big thing is the uniforms, though. That's I can't wait to see them.
Yep. Let's see on a couple days from now those Nike rivalries uniforms. As again, it will be worn 1 time per season over the next 3 seasons. That game is scheduled for the first round of the Seattle game out here in LA. And will it be black? Will it be midnight blue, like a navy blue? Will it be navy and yellow? Will it be navy and white? Will it be black, blue, and yellow? There's a lot of different ways it could go, as a lot of people are speculating and guessing based on teasers and yada, yada, yada. But I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they look like. And we'll talk about that for sure. But also, if you have not already, my fellow Ramily, like this video, subscribe to the YouTube channel, turn on that notification bell, right? We're going to have plenty of film breakdowns once games start being played. We're going to have Keys to Victory episodes, breaking down our opponent, their strengths, their weaknesses. What should we do to attack them and win the game, right? We're going to have plenty of pregame videos. We're going to have tons of the postgame, of course, and then other fun content throughout the week during this upcoming season. So turn those notification bells on, get notified when we drop videos throughout this whole fun 2025 season. And then if you're on the audio only or podcast only side of things, share this podcast and audio with all your fellow Rams fans. Any of those options, we very much appreciate it. It helps other Rams fans, be able to see our content very easily. And man, I'm so freaking excited. Week 1 can't come any freaking sooner. But whether you are in St. Louis, whether you're here in Los Angeles, SoCal, North Cal, anywhere on planet Earth, rep your Rams this football season. And always throw those horns up and say with me, go Rams, baby.